Hey, welcome back to Morbid Sunshine, back to myself again, back to my Morbid Sunshiny business, and I've got another Indictment, spicy one. It's a real bad one. This is a case of Howard Rubin. He worked for George Soros. It's a 13-page indictment, and there's charges of, I can't remember now, I've seen so many. The defendant, Howard Rubin, also known as Howie or H, is a retired New York-based financier. From at least 2009 through to 2019, Rubin recruited dozens of women to engage in commercial acts with him and involving bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadomasochism. During many of these encounters, Rubin engaged in conduct beyond the scope of the woman's consent. From at least 2011 through 2013, defendant Jennifer Powers facilitated Rubin's commercial sexual encounters. Among other things, Powers recruited women to have commercial sex acts with Rubin, arranged travel and accommodation for women to fly to New York to engage in acts with Rubin, secured non-disclosure agreements from women, procured BDSM toys and instruments for Rubin to use during commercial acts with women, paid women after sexual encounters in amounts directed by Rubin, and managed the fallout from women's complaints stemming from the commercial acts with Rubin. Number 2, because what that's trying to say, in them 10 years he crossed the line of the NDA, and the woman's complained about it, and the ass trafficking and prostitution operations. I'm going to use the word audit for prostitution, okay? From approximately 2009 to 2019, defendant Howard Rubin and Jennifer Powers, together with others, operated a network whereby recruited women, including Jane Doe 1 to 10, individuals who identified are known as to the grand jury, to engage in commercial acts with Rubin in exchange for money, which acts involve BDSM. During many of these encounters, Rubin brutalized women's bodies, causing them to fear for their safety and or recruiting in significant pain or injuries, which at times required women to seek medical attention. Okay. Rubin and Powers spent at least $1 million of Rubin's money operating and maintaining the trafficking network described herein. Between 2009 and 2011, the commercial acts primarily occurred at luxury hotels in Manhattan and New York. Building in 2011, the defendant Howard Rubin leased a luxury penthouse apartment located in Central Park, New York. The penthouse, Rubin and the defendant Jennifer Powers transformed one of the bedrooms into a penthouse into a sex dungeon that was painted red and soundproofed, had a lock on the door, and was furnished with BDSM equipment to which women could be strapped and restrained, and contained devices to shock and electrocute them. Among other items, Rubin also travelled out of state to engage in commercial sex acts with women, including Las Vegas and Nevada. A lot of women in Nevada. The defendants, Howard Rubin and Jennifer Powers, together with others, recruited women, often targeting former Playboy models, whom they found through social media. Modeling pages in high-end prostitution networks, auditor networks, to exchange in auditing acts with Rubin. Rubin and Powers, together with others, maternally misrepresented to women the extent, manner and degree to which Rubin would engage in physical sexual violence. For example, in some instances, Rubin provided a safe word the women could say to convey that they wanted the violent sexual conduct to cease, but then disregard the safety word when the women used it, and continue the violent conduct without the women's consent. In other instances, regardless of whether Rubin had provided the safe word, the women were unable to object to Rubin's conduct because they were bound and gagged during the encounter. In still other instances, women became unconscious during the encounters, such as that they were unable to consent. Rubin paid different women for commercial acts multiple times a week, sometimes in consecutive days. Defendant Jennifer Powers frequently arranged the women's flights to New York and often to LaGuardia or John F. Kennedy Airport in Queens, New York, and transportation to the penthouse. Facilitated the woman's entry with the penthouse building doorman, and coordinated with the women to ensure that their visits to the penthouse did not overlap. After the sexual encounters, Rubin often described the encounters in detail to Powers, who used the information to manage the fallout with the women because Rubin's violence. Additionally, after the sexual encounters, Rubin and Powers used Rubin's money to pay the women by wire transfer. Or a payment service such as PayPal or Venmo. At times, Powers structured the payments to avoid sending single transactions, like £10,000 or more. Rubin was satisfied with the way the women had endured the sexual encounters. The women received $5,000 per quarter. If he was dissatisfied, he'd paid them several $1,000s less. The defendant, Howard Rubin and Jennifer Powers, together with others, required women to sign NDAs which, among other things, purported to require that the women assume the risks of the hazards and injury of the BDSM encounters with Rubin, prohibited the disclosure of information about the BDSM with Rubin, and require payment of damages in the event of a breach. Rubin and Powers kept a safe in the penthouse where they held a stock of blank NDAs. Can't wait for this to come over and trial. The women were not provided a copy with the NDA prior to being required to sign it. Moreover, at times, women were only presented with the NDA after they had assumed alcohol. After some of these encounters, women contacted the defendant Powers and described the defendant what Rubin had done to them, and or sent images of the injuries. Powers at times assured the girls by, for example, telling them to ice the injuries or apply bruise cream. Other times, Powers minimalized Rubin's behavior by telling the women He was too drunk to even blame the women for letting Rubin get too drunk. Friggin' hell. On various occasions, victims notified Rubin and Powers that Rubin had caused lasting pain and physical injuries to them, including, for example, a woman's breast implants. Wow. Had flipped upside down and required surgery to fix it. Fucking hell, what's he doing? And discoloration that lasted for weeks, such as that the women could not work. Defendant Howard Rubin and Jennifer Powers, together with others, employed coercive, fraudulent, threatening and deceptive tactics when they recruited and enticed, harboured, transported and provided and obtained, maintained, patronised, solicited and paid the women to engage in commercial acts, including by minimalising the level of the nature of the anticipated BDSM encounter. For example, Rubin and Powers, together with others, employed a referral and recruitment system that failed to fully appraise the women of what would occur during the commercial encounters with Rubin, including the manner and degree to which Rubin would physically and abuse them, and instead often mischaracterised the nature of the conduct generally. Sorry, I've got bad throat all the time, haven't I? Generally described it as a light fetish. Wow, I don't think so. Or activity, or omitting that it would include acts with Rubin. Gagging them. It's terrible. Obtain consent when women on basis that could use a safe word during the encounters, at which point Rubin would cease to engage in the objectionable conduct. But then, during the subsequent encounter, women were either physically unable to use the safe word due to the gag, or the women used the safe word and Rubin failed to cease the activity, including penetrating a woman with foreign objects, to which the women did not or no longer consented even after they had asked Rubin to stop. Oh, fuck's sake. C. Encourage women to become intoxicated with drugs and alcohol, such as sedatives, including by providing such substances. That's sadism now. Before a sex encounter, resulting in women being unable to consent during the lack of consciousness, and threaten women with legal consequences and public shaming if they sought legal action. Recourse. The fraudulent conduct. 10. From 2018 to 2003, the defendant Howard funded virtually all aspects of defendant Jennifer Powers' life, including paying for the following: the rent on her Manhattan apartments, the private schooling for her children, her credit card bills, her legal fees associated with trafficking operations described above, down payments on her home in Texas, and her mortgage payments totaling approximately $8 million. 11. In or about 2017, defendants Howard Rubin and Jennifer Powers and others were sued in the U.S. District Court of Eastern District of New York by women who had engaged in commercial acts with Rubin, requesting millions of dollars in damages. The civil case. Throughout 2018, Rubin was deposed in connection with the civil case, and he also attended the depositions of Powers and all of the plaintiffs, among others. That means the solicitor was there listening to the depositions. The civil cases continued following Rubin's deposition, and jury trial commenced March 23, 2022, and continued till April 7, 22. Rubin testified in that jury trial that on or about March 30th, 2022, in or about 2020, the defendant Powers relocated to Texas and purchased a home secured by a mortgage and co-signed with the defendant Rubin, the finance institution, an entity the identity of which is known to the grand jury. On or about the 3rd of June 2020, while Rubin was in Suffolk County, here you go, he emailed a financial institution a financial statement in support of his petitions to co-sign Powers' mortgage. The financial statement was signed by Rubin and dated on or about the 3rd of June 2020 in response to the question, are you party to any suit, or are there any unsatisfied judgments against you? Was the question. Rubin responded no, when in fact he was actively engaged in a civil case. A lot of perjury. The financial statement further provided Rubin would notify the financial institution in writing of any material unfavourable change, and that absence such notice and financial institution could consider the financial statements a continuing statement and substantially correct. Therefore, the defendant Powers' home mortgage was restructured on or about the 4th of April 2022. Powers emailed financial institution and renewed the financial statements, signed by the defendant Rubin and dated on or about the 2nd of April. See, she signed it early. A final statement, afterwards, did not include the correct by Rubin and stating that he was party to a lawsuit, notwithstanding the fact that the day earlier he had testified at the grand trial in a civil case. So he lied under oath. Count 1. Auditing of Jane Doe 1 to 5. 14. The allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 13 are re-alleged that the incorporated as if fully set forth in this paragraph. In or about 2015 to 2017, both dates being approximate and inclusive, with the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, defendant Howard Rubin, also known as Howie and H, and Jennifer Powers, together with others, did knowingly, intentionally recruit, harbour, transport, provide, obtain, and maintain, patronise, and solicit by any means, or one or more persons, to wit, Jane Doe 1 through 5, and in effect, interstate commerce, and did a benefit financially by their receiving anything of value from participating in a venture which engaged in such acts, knowingly in the reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats, fraud and coercion, as described in Title 18 of the United States Code of 1591, E2, and combination of such means would be used to cause such persons to engage in one or more commercial acts, which offence was effected by means of force, threats of force, fraud and coercion, and combination of such means. Count 2. Trafficking of Jane Doe 6. The allegation contained in the paragraphs on through to 13 are re-alleged and incorporated as if fully set forth in this paragraph. In or about 2018, with the District of Nevada, defendant Howard Rubin, also known as H, together with others, did knowingly, intentionally recruit, heist, harbour, transport, provide, obtain, maintain, patronise by any means of one or more persons, to wit of Jane Doe 6, and in effect interstate commerce, and did benefit financially and by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture in which engaged in such acts, knowing in and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force and threats of violence, a mean of coercion, as described in Title 18, United States Code, Section 1591, and a combination of such means would be used to cause such persons to engage in one or more commercial acts, which offence are affected by the means of force, threats, coercion, fraud, and a combination of both all. Here we go with the Mann Act. And this is an important one in the Diddy case. It's trafficking over district lines, and 18. The allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 13 are re-alleged and incorporated as fully set forth in this paragraph. In or about between 2009 and 19. Both dates being approximate and inclusive, to which Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, defendant Rubin, also known as Howard H. and Jennifer Powers, together with others, did knowingly intentionally transport individuals to interstate commerce with intent of such individuals to engage in auditing. Jane Doe, right. Count 3 is Jane Doe 1, 2009-2017, Jane Doe 2, 2015, Jane Doe 4, 2000. So they've gone through to Count 9, the Mann Act, transportation. The allegation contained in paragraphs 1 to 13 are re-alleged and incorporated as if fully set forth in the paragraph. In and about 2011, within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, defendant Rubin, also known as Howard H., together with others, intentionally transport individuals, Jane Doe 10, in the interstate commerce and intent to engage in auditing, bank fraud. The allegation contained in the paragraphs through 13 to 1 to 13 are re-alleged and incorporated as set forth in or about June 2020 to April 2022, both dates being approximate and inclusive within the District State of New York and elsewhere. The defendant Rubin, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally execute a scheme to defraud a financial institution and to obtain monies, funds and credits and other property owned by and under custody and control of such a financial institution by means of materially false and fraudulent pretenses, representations and promises. Criminal forfeiture and allegation as to counts 1 to 2. The United States hereby gives notice that the defendant, upon conviction, the government seek forfeiture of, they want the bank money, they want back what they got. Any property is traceable, they want the money back on that because of what he's done. bit like the Diddy case and the Epstein case. The United States hereby gives notice to the defendants either conviction of any offences charged in counts 3 to 9. The government will seek forfeiture in accordance to Title 18, which requires the forfeiture of any property in real and personal is used or intended to be used by, commit or facilitate the commission of such offences, and any property of real and personal constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such offences. If any of the above described forfeiture property is a result of any act or omission of the defendants, cannot be located upon the exercise to due diligence, has been transferred or sold or deposited with a third party, has been placed beyond jurisdiction of the court, has been and all its proceeds go to the fund for the victims offended. So what do you think about that? I'll show you a picture of him just to give you a round view of who he looks like. Don't know much about him myself, but someone told me about the story. I thought, wow, that's crazy, but apparently it was really bad. I'll tell you, I don't know who he is. Wow, you wouldn't think he was a sadist, would you? Hey. Creepy. It's like he puts that on. Well, that's all for me, folks, and I'll chase this back up and see what's going on. This seems an interesting case. Take care for now. Bye bye. Done it again. Bye bye.